And this time I'm going to be joined by Que Mai, who is the author of The Mountains Sing, which is an amazing book set in Vietnam. And it tells the story of a multi generational family in Vietnam. And Que Mai is actually a poet. Let me get her on here to join us. There she is, as I'm talking about you. I was just explaining that you're a poet who's written multiple pieces in Vietnamese, and that this is your first full length novel in English. And I was about to say that it is getting rave reviews. I've seen this book in the, oh my goodness, all the newspapers. It's been in like the New York, the Book Review, and I can't even list them all. It's had so much great coverage, and everybody talks about how poetic your language is, which makes sense because you're a poet. But hey, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Lainey, for having me. It's such a great honor. You have been helping me so much with so many things about my book. So I'm really excited to see you and to talk to you today, and all the way from Mexico, right? And you're doing this for us today.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you
And isn't this
for many friends who are joining us today. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, so you're in Germany right now, right?
Yes, I'm in Germany. I'm in a rented accommodation, so I'm just trying to choose the background which is acceptable. But
well, it's perfect because I see your book on the shelf behind
yes.
you there. In fact, do you want to hold it up for us so everybody can see it?
So yes, so this is my book, The Mountains Sing, and I love the cover, and it's really artfully designed by Algonquin Books. And yeah, so this is a journey into the 20th century history of Vietnam through the lives of 4 generations of a Vietnamese family. Travel with me to Vietnam when you read this book.
And I know that I have both the audiobook and the electronic copy, because it's actually fabulous in the audiobook to be able to hear all the Vietnamese pronunciations that I know myself when I'm reading the book I'm not getting right. And it's so melodic, like the music of this book. I think like maybe I don't know how to read it correctly because I don't have all the pronunciations. So I would tell people, if you have a choice, the audiobook, get them both. The audiobook is amazing. I know that.
Yes, and talking about the ebook and the audiobook, they're both on sale today, special. And I think the ebook on Kindle is like only $199 now, only today. So if you're listening and if you're interested, please get a copy. I worked 7 years on it, so it's really cheap now.
And I see Brady is online with us and saying the exact same thing. The audio is amazing, the pronunciations, and just how melodic and poetic it is. So
yes.
Talk to us more about this book, or talk to us about the experience of bringing this book finally into the world, right? It's just been a few months.
Yeah, it has been less than 3 months, and I've been really thrilled with the reception. Like the audio narrator did an amazing job. One of the requirements I had was that she would be like, she's Vietnamese and she can speak perfectly Vietnamese, and that's the requirement I put forward to the audiobook producer. And so they chose Quyên Ngo, who's a fantastic actress, and I think she did a wonderful job. And I wrote this book not knowing whether someone would read it one day. And I'm really excited that people are receiving it, and I get email almost every day from people who saying, Vietnam veterans who shared with me their personal experiences, or Vietnamese people who lived through the experiences, and they said, oh, my family went through similar experiences. Or the people or people who have never been to Vietnam, and they said, oh, they discovered parts of the Vietnamese history that they didn't know. So it has been such an amazing experience. It's just unfortunate that this book was launched into a pandemic, so I wasn't able to. I had packed, all my Vietnamese outside, the long dresses, and we had arranged a wonderful book tour with some of my most favorite authors. So we did a lot of work. We prepared like over a year for that book tour, and now it's just been canceled. And I hope one day I can return to the US and do that book tour and hug people. I miss hugging people. I miss signing books. I think I signed less than 10 copies so far. So it's a strange feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, and also just having to move around countries as well. It's such a weird time, right? And I know for us, we've been in Mexico here during the pandemic, and it's just such a strange time to be like away from your home country and dealing with like language and everything in addition to trying to launch a book, right? It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But I have seen you all over. Yeah, you've done a great job with the online stuff, even though I know it's not the same. No, I'm gonna cross everything for you that we get to get you on a tour.
Yes, I hope I think there's nothing more exciting than meeting readers face to face. I think I'm really grateful for the technology that I'm meeting everyone today here, talking, across the oceans and across time zones. So this is really a blessing, but I think I look forward to the day that I can sign the actual book, hug people and have, look people, in the eyes and say, oh, this is the story. And I want to hear their stories too, It's not just about me talking, but it's about, listening to people and listening to their stories as well. And that's the best part of a book tour, right?
Yeah. Has there been, I thought it was interesting when you said you're getting a lot of letters, every day you're getting letters. Has there been anything surprising in those letters? Anything you didn't expect in terms of the reaction to the book?
Oh, I mean, it's just like amazing the length of the letters that I'm getting. And like a few days ago, I got this letter. It's entitled, from a Vietnam veteran. And this veteran was, he was in Vietnam in 1963 at the start of the war. So he witnessed, the war from the beginning and through many, many years. And then he said, this is exactly what he witnessed, how the war divided the Vietnamese family and the violence and the destruction. And he just told me about everything. He wrote so long, and then and then when I answer him, then he like, if you come to the US, you're invited to my house. And like, I'm making friends all over the world, and they are like, the most touching part is that some people read the book as a family, like when the daughters or the sons read the book and get excited, they want their parents to read. And then, both the parents and the children contact me and say, oh, wow. And especially, for Vietnamese Americans, they are telling me that there were issues that they could not talk about through many years because of trauma, because of, of the parents thinking the children not knowing what to ask. So I think they're telling me that, the book opened the way for them to discuss about the difficult history of their family. And I think each Vietnamese family has gone through so much trauma. And because, because of our culture, we bury that trauma. And I think it's very unhealthy for all of us. So that trauma is kind of passed on from one generation to the next. And I wrote this book with kind of a wish for us to come together and to heal, to talk about difficult issues. And I mean, it has been really moving that I see that happening, to some of the families who've read my book. And this is like greater than anything I could expect,
Wow,
Yes.
that's amazing. And I've heard many people talk about, there's a lot of books written by Americans about Vietnam, but this is a book written from a Vietnamese perspective, and there aren't very many, right? Like
Yes.
there's a lot that circle around the war, but like coming and explaining the generations of Vietnamese culture from the perspective of an insider.
Yes.
I think that's a gift that you've given us all, and being able to read a book like
I
this.
think one of the reasons why I wanted to write this book is that I was so frustrated about literature about Vietnam. The women, the Vietnamese women represented in this type of fiction is like mostly as background to the American stories, right? Or because of the fact that, like we were educated, uncomplicated. So I wanted to present a fuller picture of the experiences I had growing up in Vietnam, and the the Vietnamese women who raised me or who surrounded me. They were so strong and full of compassion, and they experienced a lot of pain, but they also overcame a lot. They carried the burden of war forward, and they rebuilt our nation, our country, really. And I wanted to present some of these stories, and I'm just like, I needed to insert some voices from inside Vietnam into Vietnam, the canon of Vietnam literature in English, because there's a seriously lack of voices from inside Vietnam. And I mean, the representation is just so, there's some gaps there that I wanted to fill with my fiction. And I mean,
I love it.
and because I
want to say, thank you for giving us this book, because I think it is a gift to all of us that we get to experience that from your perspective.
Thank you.
Any last thoughts here before we wrap up?
I mean, I just want to thank you. I mean, I'm just so thankful for the chance to tell my story. The Mountain Sing, is inspired by my family's experiences and experiences of many Vietnamese I know. So even though it's fiction, it's based on historical events, and I'm just so thankful for the chance, to be here and to be able to tell my story, because I have always wanted to become a writer since childhood, and I only had the chance recently. And I'm just so thankful for the reception out there, the interest out there for my book, and I just hope that literature will bring us together in this difficult time. And as my book highlighted, we have been through so many challenges as a human race in the past, and we have come out stronger, kinder, more compassionate. And I hope we do that again. We come out of this crisis stronger, more united, and a better community. I hope so.
I think I can't say it any better. It's a perfect moment for this kind of book. And The Mountains Sing, available now for only $1.99. And read it, folks. It's amazing. Amazing.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Lainey. You're fantastic.